What's up guys, Deluxe Basketball Analysis here back with another video. So in this one, I'm going to be addressing Ben Simmons and how I believe that the numbers show that unlike what most believe, that he is actually a top tier point guard in the league. I will address the criticism he receives and also show how I believe the numbers also show he is in fact underrated and not overrated. Remember, this is what the numbers show, so if you disagree with this analysis, do remember that you're arguing with the stats, not my personal opinion on the matter. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. In the 2016 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers held the number 1 pick and were looking for another young potential star to pair nicely with Joel Embiid. This, to all Sixers fans, was known as something called the process, or a time period in which the front office assured its fan base that success would ultimately come through the draft. And with that number 1 pick, they selected Ben Simmons, the Australian 6'10" point guard from LSU. Now Ben, coming out of college, had a tremendous amount of hype and potential surrounding his name. He did have a scare in the 2016 Summer League as he broke his foot and would be out for a remainder of what would have been his rookie season. But the entire league was still excited for what this young prodigy would do when he returned the following year. When Ben Simmons came back, everyone became witness to his stunning court vision, great length, and rebounding ability for a point guard, and seemingly perfect fit alongside their center in Joel Embiid. Now that did come with one big weakness, however, which happened to be the same weakness he had at LSU, his shooting. Yes, Ben could not shoot a jumper to save his life. Even just a mid-range shot. If you look at his shooting form, it just looks so forced and extremely awkward. This weakness, along with his bad free throw shooting as a point guard, made people believe that Ben Simmons would never become the superstar point guard people initially believed he would almost inevitably become. His poor shooting prevented good spacing on the court with Joel Embiid in particular, as most of his work was done in the post as a big man in the paint. This clogged the lane and ultimately hindered their offense to a pretty decent extent. So Deluxe, you ask, how is it with this, that Ben Simmons is actually underrated and not overrated? Well, don't worry, I will show you by the numbers why. In this past 2020 NBA season, Ben averaged a very solid 16.7 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game with a PER of 20.85. Going off those stats alone, that is pretty impressive if you ask me, being that he is still only a third-year point guard in the league. He has tremendous ability across the board as he can score, rebound, and pass very well. Looking at Ben defensively, we see he averaged 2.1 steals per game and 0.6 blocks per game, with a defensive box plus-minus rating of 16th in the NBA amongst active point guards with a plus 0.57. That would certainly indicate he is at least certainly above average defensively, especially with his 6'10" frame and length he can use at the point guard position. So we can clearly see he can score, pass, rebound, and defend at perhaps borderline all-star or all-star rates. But what about his efficiency? Certainly with the horrible 3-point shot and free throw percentage, two things that majorly would hinder true shooting percentage, there's no way he could score efficiently, right? Well, check this out. In 2020, with no 3-point shot while shooting just 63% from the line, Ben had a true shooting percentage of 60.8%, ranking him at 25th in the league. That alone right there is incredible in itself. He's more efficient than players like Trae Young and Joe Harris, both guys that benefit from taking threes and not as many twos. In fact, Ben is only one spot behind Giannis in true shooting percentage in 2020, which is actually incredible if you think about that for a second. For being a guy that can only shoot awkward in the paint floaters as his only shot creation ability, meaning the defense can also clutter the lane because they know where he's going, being top 25 in the league in efficiency with no 3-point shot, might I add, is quite frankly mind-boggling. So now we see Ben can score, pass, rebound, and defend, but also is very efficient as an overall scorer. So everything checks out, right? Well, still no. Haters are correct on this one point, that Ben Simmons' flaw in his shooting ability will hinder his potential to be a championship point guard for years to come unless he fixes it. Now, some great news for Sixers fans is that he certainly has improved his shot over time and has made a three here and there in the few that he's taken so far this year. I perfectly agree that if Ben Simmons does not obtain a consistent jump shot to at least mid-range and improve his free throw percentage, he will never be a championship level point guard in today's modern era of pace and space. But regardless, I will tell you this. Going off those numbers from earlier, we can clearly see that with all the hate Ben gets, he is absolutely without a doubt underrated. People wail on and on about his jump shot and therefore then think his scoring overall is inevitably hindered efficiency-wise, but he's not. But think for a second if he actually had a jump shot and could shoot well. His efficiency would rise even more, as defenders would have to be honest and play him tighter on the perimeter, which could allow him to get to the lane easier and also make playmaking for him much simpler as well, with no multitude of defenders able to clog the lane and know what he'd do. So what am I saying at the end of the day with this video? Well, definitely that Ben Simmons is in fact an underrated point guard in the league because people rail on his jump shot so much that they fail to see all the other amazing things his game brings to the table. He scores well and at an efficient rate, he rebounds very well for a point guard, has great court vision, and defends well at the point guard position. What this video is not saying is that he will become a championship level point guard one day. What I am saying is that if he can knock down a consistent 16-footer, or even one day hit threes at an above 30% clip, this man will become a top 3 point guard in the league one day, maybe even top 2 or the best. It all depends on his shooting, and with everything else checking out, that's the only weakness he must address and improve on. And with that, this has been Deluxe Basketball Analysis. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as that helps motivate me to keep putting up content just like this. Thank you and peace.